He's falling back, look. He appears to be doing okay, yeah, with those base defences now. But these barrels are lethal. You need to stay away from them with your infantry. Tanks, it doesn't matter.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. It's Dvoid here. I've got a 1v1 multiplayer game on Timian map for you. I'm using Russia for this game, and my opponent's using Russia as well. There was a spectator for this game, at least at the start there was. We're both training engineers, and it looks like my opponent sent his straight for the oil derrick, just like I do, and he's got the same shift command as well. I've sent 4 rifles out, hunting for my opponent's. My opponent sent a couple of rifles, look. He's going straight for my oil derrick, and it's good to send a couple of rifles, because if I've only sent 1 rifleman ahead of my engineer, 2 can take him out and catch me, you never know. He's got a rifleman there sneaking past, but I've lost 1 rifleman. I've taken care of my opponents, but I've got my engineer guarded quite well. You see, your opponent can get riflemen sneaking round to the side. I've lost a rifleman there, but it looks like I've drawn them away enough to snipe their engineer. Yeah, got him. And my opponent sent a rifleman. It looks like he's checking out this oil derrick. So my opponent's got 1. I've got 1, and I've just taken my second. So now he's on his way. He's trained a second engineer there. I did try and send a rifleman, look, but he was immediately caught. In fact, I tried to send 2, and it looks like 1's sneaked past. But yeah, he's saved a few rifles there. No, he looks like he's trying again. Oh, what? Oh, he's blind firing, that's why, because he knows where they are. Fair enough. That's why I've moved them back further within the view range of the oil derrick, so he won't be able to do that. But he is capturing his second oil derrick now. I haven't managed to intercept him. He actually sent that small attack group at the right time. It distracted me from harassing his engineer for the second time. But his rifleman's here, look. He's on a scouting mission. He's going to run into trouble here. But let's see what he revealed, because this is my opponent's point of view. For those of you who are not overly familiar with the game, this viewpoint that I normally have, like this is what both me and my opponent can see. So if you wanted just my point of view, this is what I can see, look. And that's why you place your rifles in guard positions and things like that, look, to watch for the enemy. I don't know where he is. I don't know anything. Now my opponent sent that scout rifle, look, so he's revealed my oil derrick, that it belongs to me, and he's also spotted this. You see that? That's the difference. And my opponent's also spotted that this oil derrick belongs to me. So he doesn't know where my units are, look. These areas of these lighter patches are what you can actually see, and when you haven't got units or structures revealing the area around them, you see these 2 riflemen here, they're revealing this, look. So I could have a massive army here and he wouldn't know, you see. So this is what I can see. You see how close I am to him, but I don't know. You just have to scout and find out as best you can. But I just thought I'd point that out just for any newcomers and stuff. This is the viewpoint of both players. You know, it's very different while you're actually playing it. Look, I've got a rifleman approaching the enemy, and as he moves into my view range, I can shoot him. Now, he was on move command, which means he'll move and he won't do anything else. That's all. So that's why he just let me shoot him. Now, you see, we're fighting for this oil derrick. My opponent's trying to kill my engineer. And he's moved past without finishing the job and lost it. But I think he wanted to move his APC into a screening position as his priority, and that's why he did that. Now he's fallen back. I was within the view range of his oil derrick, so he had the advantage. But just the fact that his APC was drawn forward to try and kill my engineer, look, you see, he's nearly finished him, and he nearly crushed him as he drove past. But it just lost his APC, sadly. It went against him. So that's why he tried to move it back, to get it in front of his infantry, because you want your APC or your tanks in front of your infantry, because they can see further and they absorb shots from your opponent's infantry. See, those two riflemen could fire at the APC for ages. They're not going to do any damage, hardly, and the APC would kill them anyway, but it would leave my infantry free to attack them, you see. And I'm in possession of 2 oil derricks, 3 oil derricks, and my opponent's got 1, but he's moving forward with an MCV there, and it's well escorted, but he doesn't have vehicles with it, so it's not very well escorted. Because he's lost his APC though, so he's at the point in the build, you see, where you're vulnerable. Now he's got his first tank, but once he'd lost his APC, he has to build the MCV, and then he has to build the heavy tank. And that means he's without a vehicle for a fair while, which has led to him escorting his MCV without a vehicle. But that's an interesting moment worth trying to take advantage of in future, if I remember. But my infantry have run into his. That's not very good. Not for both players, it's not very good. I've got a better formation, but look, he's attacking my oil derrick. And these infantry units are badly outnumbered. I'm using the defender's advantage at the moment, but it's soon lost, and these units are going to be destroyed. Now he's using move command, so I can just kill them as they move past. Now he's using attack move. You see, with move command, they won't shoot. And there you go, it's a bit of a mess. My opponent appears to be... He's falling back, look. He appears to be doing okay, yeah, with those base defences now. But these barrels are lethal. You need to stay away from them with your infantry. Tanks, it doesn't matter. See, I'm trying my best to keep the tanks up front, and it does mean they're taking the damage. But I need to switch to the combat tab, sorry, because check our army values. Now, I've got a good advantage, but without a vehicle, it won't matter. I need a vehicle up front, otherwise the advantage in infantry numbers won't matter, because I've lost that vehicle. Now, these guys shouldn't be moving any further. That's what I can see, very little. My opponent, he's got his buildings view range. Now, I've managed to overrun him there, that's quite good. And I've got a tank arriving, and I've brought my MCV as well from my expansion. Now, my opponent's moved up to this corner. I didn't notice, but I saw one of these ore trucks moving past. I actually noticed it was an ore truck that tipped me off. At some point, I did spot this ore truck, but this is my viewpoint at the moment. You see, that's why you have to build defences here and stuff, because he could have a force here for all I know. So you've got to watch for that. But I leave all refineries alive. There goes my second war factory. And... there, he's got another expansion in the corner while I'm moving forward. He's got no army value. He can see my reinforcements arriving, but I'm just allowing that because I don't believe he's got any chance of stopping me. You see, he's sold up there because he can see my engineers capturing. But this is what tipped me off. The direction this ore truck is going when it retreats tells me there's an expansion over there. See, I know it's gone off in that direction because my infantry spotted it. So, I know there's an expansion. I may start to move other units or change my production, primary production placement. So far I haven't reacted as yet. There you go, you see. There you go. Now, obviously, I haven't seen any of this, but that ore truck tipped me off. So I'm at least sending something. I know I'm likely to find, you see, I'm defeating the base, in his units at his base, but I'm in trouble because I've got no vehicles. That's why this tank is on its way. And I'm capturing here, but this is a risk. All he has to do is place a base defence, but I'm being greedy and impatient, and I'm sending my engineer to capture. So these infantry have to kill that base defence, and it killed the engineer. All he needed was a little bit of splash damage because it had already been wounded by the APC earlier down here. It looks like he obviously took out that oil derrick. But infantry can't fight. You need a vehicle in front of them. It's just inefficient otherwise. But I captured that, look, the ore refinery, and for some reason it's giving me this as well. And I've got thieves on the way. And this is... I've reset that capture bar so I'm not in control, but my opponent's called it. So, here look, a capture flash. But if I just pause it at the moment before it's over, yeah, he only had 500 anyway, so the captures wouldn't have been any help. But it would help to demoralise my opponent. So So there you go. There's that one, and my 2 thieves never made it in, sadly. But if they do, you get the 500 cost for each thief. You get that back, even if your opponent can't afford to cover that in the money you steal, because you take half of what the enemy has. So if they've got £1,000, you'll get 500, and that'll only cover the cost of the thief. But if they've got, say, 700, you won't get half of that, you'll still get 500. If they've got 0, you'll still get 500. You won't lose the value of your thief, no matter what. England, their spies are cheaper, so you can gain a bit more value out of them. But yeah, sometimes if you capture a refinery at the right time, I think that's what caused that to be captured. I could be wrong, but that's probably what happened. But I'm gonna, I'll go through the graphs and charts quickly, but I'm gonna add another replay to this. Yeah, my opponent, it was okay, his army value at the start, but then he was behind after the first few minutes. So, but I did take some losses there, look. That was fighting without vehicles. There's the earnings graph, that looks fairly even. Army graph, yeah, I've got a decent force left. Not a lot, but it's okay. 16,500 army value, so it's okay. I didn't lose any structures, but my opponent lost 11. I killed 179 of my opponent's units. My opponent killed 156 of mine. And I destroyed 44,000 of my opponent's credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 28,000 credits worth of my assets. There aren't any support powers in effect, but I do have a radar dome. Obviously, I train thieves as well. That's always my, usually I should say, my first bit of tech that I employ. When I get a radar dome, I usually like to get thieves on the job pretty quickly. I am building an airfield though, look, because the sooner you get your support powers counting down, the more times you can use them. Producing heavy tanks, etc. I've got 8 ore trucks, probably because of that one I captured. Still held on to 2 oil derricks, my 2 closest. And I got 6 grand cash. My opponent's got a little bit now. And I was at 29 actions per minute. My opponent was at 34. There's your scores and stuff. And there's that one. I'm going to go to a second replay just to make my post more substantial.
Battle control.
I may even add a third if I'm feeling generous. Let's see. And this is my first game of the day, this one, and this is from today, this replay, sorry. And I'm using Russia, my opponent's using England for this one. So I'm in top corner. Let's have a look. Yeah, getting my engineer and my first rifles I'm sending to chase the enemy's engineer. He's doing the same as me, and he's capturing this oil derrick, but he hasn't got it shift command to take that. That's strange. He's got it a shift command to move around here. That's very different. And he hasn't got any other infantry either. That's why the first thing, one of your first infantry, if you don't bump into enemy troops, they should continue on, close on the enemy base, and check out what's going on. Because for all I know, he's building 3 refineries before he builds a barracks, and if he does, then he's gonna, you know, he should lose, because I should be checking that out. You see, I'm moving rifles in. You know, I'm getting closer and closer and realising there's no resistance, I'm facing no threats, and there's the, there you go, I found some enemy presence, that's a ranger. So then the situation changes because he can pick off all of these rifles, and I now know he's got a war factory. There you go, there's a rifleman, and there's the ranger. I'm trying to get as many units away as I can to safety, and I'm regrouping the rest of my troops with rocket troops and my engineer. But because that scout, he's been killed by a camo pillbox. Where's the ranger? There it is. He's on a scouting mission. That's why I haven't sent all my usual rifle guards to their usual positions, because they'll just get picked off by this ranger. So that's why my first rifle guards are close to my base. You know, I've got my own scout vehicle now, but there you see the ranger, he's caught my engineer because it was at the back. And he sniped a rocket soldier. Very nice. Now, I was tempted to blast the oil derrick apart, even though it's a neutral one. It hasn't been captured yet. But I thought, no, why do that? I'm not going to react in that way at all. I'll just keep play it cautious and safe and keep going and not let all my units get picked off. And then I thought, well, I need to defend my oil derrick, and I've got a rifle guard there still, a scout, and from my point of view, this is what my rifleman revealed. It wasn't this one, because this one came from this side. The rifleman that went through here was killed by the camo pillbox. But you see, I can't see the camo pillbox because it disappears when the shroud comes back. If it was visible when the shroud moved over, I'd still see it. But as soon as I then went and uncovered that area with a unit, it would then it'd disappear, because you only see what was there when the shroud creeps back. For all I know, he could have sold that war factory. There might not be anything there now. That just shows you what was there. So you have to bear that in mind against skilled and canny opponents. Let's see, did I make another engineer? No, not yet. My opponent's, his was down there. But there's his ranger. Has that got the engineer in? Yes, it has, and it's a veteran by now. And look, it's actually spotted this. Unless he drove... Yeah, he should have spotted that. The ranger has a very good view... Yeah, definitely. Look, it's got a very good view range, but I was getting fed up with this ranger bothering me and showing him everything that I'm doing. Now, there's my APC. But I don't have... There you go. He sent his engineer out, and I was ready with a flame tower. And the armour of rangers is very light. So units like flat trucks and rangers and MCVs, they get really badly damaged by flame towers, because their hit points they soak it all up. And I'm placing units in decent positions to use the view range of my structures for defensive purposes, and then once I've got enough, I'll start to send the rest of them to join my frontline force. And as I go, I'll send my vehicles. I've should be ordering them to move here. Yeah, there you go. I've set the rally point. Now, let's just have a look. Early army values. I'm about 5 grand ahead. And we're okay for cash. My opponent's got one less ore truck, but they're not expanding. He's going for these groups of light tanks. Now, you see, with the Allies, you don't even need a service depot. You can build up groups of light tanks, and they're really good for harassment. Players that get skilled at using them can, do really well with a group of light tanks, because they move very quickly. And if you have a couple of rangers with them, they can also kill infantry. So, because they move so quickly, you can take chances to destroy any groups of enemy units that you can overwhelm, or escape any groups that you can't. Now, he's got his MCV, but he made sure there was nothing up here with a proper scouting sweep first. But what are these guys doing? I know he's being very, very thorough with his scouting. There's nothing wrong with that, but he hasn't got rifles positioned out in the map where he needs them, because otherwise he'd know this lot's about to hit him. So let's just look at the army values, because it looks like there's going to be some combat. My opponent's at 12,000 army value, I'm at 20,000 army value, and I'm about to hit these ore trucks, and they're undefended, but they are full of ore, so they're going. Now, he's sending these forces, look, but they won't be able to take on a fully mixed force of infantry and tanks. They're too light, and they're not great for screening vehicles, but he could run my troops over. When they were committed against here, he could still do it now. These tanks could squash my infantry, and he could even the engagement. You see, his forces are ineffective, used as they were. You see how many bullets are bouncing off my tanks, and now he's trying to run over my units. It's too late. He could have done it when I was committed against him here, when he had all his units. And you just see how many bullets are bouncing off my tanks, and they're not going to do... Now he's nearly going to lose his health against those 2 pillboxes. They do succumb eventually, but you see how long it takes. And in the meantime, my infantry are killing things. So these guys should have also joined in the light tanks and run me over. It's over. He's got his, he hasn't even set up a refinery here. He's got a forward war factory. And I've got a forward, very aggressive war factory. I'm setting up Tesla coils, look. I haven't got the power to supply them yet, but I don't need it. There you go. All done. My opponent's legged it. And I'm clearing up. So I'll go through the graphs and charts. As my opponent's gone, technically it's done. Yeah, he's out of cash. I've got plenty of cash. So I'll go through the graphs and charts. This is just sweeping up the crumbs, the remains of his corpse. I've got my Tesla coil doing some of the work, but there's the army graph. He was just way behind, sadly. But you got to see you can build groups of light tanks, and you can actually start them before you've got your service depot, because you can build as soon as you've got a war factory with allies. You can build light tanks. It's a very nice advantage. But also I've seen them used in other ways, because when an opponent has been losing a game and lost their service depot and been in trouble, I've actually seen them turn to light tank groups, and because they're fast and manoeuvrable, they start to build up groups of light tanks and attack the enemy's economy, and go on eco raids and power plant raids, and actually turn a game around by falling back on light tank groups. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me, in fact. But my opponent's, there's my opponent's earnings graph. Mine took off quite well towards the end by the looks of that. And I've got a decent force. They couldn't destroy those heavy tanks. Not enough rockets to back up the fact that they had no tanks, main battle tanks, just lights. I got a 28,000 army value. I didn't lose any structures. My opponent lost 19. I killed 65 units. My opponent killed 45. I destroyed 40,000 credits worth of assets, though. So I did plenty of damage, and my opponent destroyed 7,000 credits worth of my assets. No support powers in effect. I've got my second war factory, so I'm building my radar dome. It's almost ready to place, in fact. So I would soon have had tech. Thieves would have been first, most likely, and then an airfield. Economy, I've got 7 ore trucks left. I've still hung on to 2 oil derricks, the 2 main close ones. I earned 70 grand, my opponent earned 33. He didn't expand, and when he did, he didn't get a refinery there. I got 8 grand, quite nice. And I was at 28 actions per minute, my opponent was at 19. So there you go, there's the basics. Because that was a short one as well, I'll add another replay. Why not? This one, and this is a 1v1 multiplayer game on Trask map, and I haven't used this map on a post for a while, and I think I actually deleted my last version of it. The version I was using, there was some fault with it, I think, so I didn't use that anymore. But I just found this version of it in the resource center, and I do like Trask. It is a nice map. I do like it. And I've got a specific way of placing my structures on this map because of the placement of the ore. But now I'm adding my... obviously, I'm sending rifles out. I never used to do this. Last time I played this map, I had different tactics. So I'm sending these rifles, hoping to hunt the enemy's engineer, because this is the closest oil derrick. But I was actually thinking, I've captured my first oil derrick, look, and the engineer's moving up, and he's escorted by a rifle. But I was thinking, what if the enemy go for this one? And it's actually, look here, this is what they chose to do. And my force is kind of in a line here. I should have let them group into one group. And now these 4 are on their own. My engineer is lucky to escape. And now that group of 4 are dead. And I thought I might have nearly evened that engagement, but I haven't, look. It's no good. And I could have used him to kill the engineer. I didn't think that he might be following them. Look, I've got a rifleman here looking for the engineer, and he's going to get killed. But I didn't think about that. Look, I could have got that engineer. And it should have been obvious to me that he's following them. In fact, I'm going to remember in future. You see, now I'm regrouping what rifles I've got left. I left 3 at my base. I've got 3 still alive here, but I know the enemy's got at least 1 rifleman, because I've lost a rifleman here myself. So I'm grouping my rifles together, bringing the engineer back, and while I'm still leaving what rifles I can at base, I'm sending some up here So I've just had a bad start, to be fair. I got caught out by that rifle group. That wasn't good. But my enemy's engineer, they've taken the hospital and they've taken the second oil derrick, the closest one in the centre. Well, the thing is, it's not really the closest. I'm saying that. It's the closest to this one. This is the closest oil derrick, and when I capture that, this is the next closest. So, yeah, if my opponent did the same, he's thinking, he hasn't captured this one. He's gone straight for these. Very interesting. And my opponent's got a light tank. I should be building my APC at the moment. There we go. Right, yeah, my opponent has got one. He's capturing his second oil derrick. I've got one down here, but he's left this one. I bet he doesn't know about it. You wouldn't leave it otherwise. And I've now got the second I got my APC into a screening position, the enemy infantry turn up, a tiny little group of them. And so I can sweep away this small group, a little bit of clawing a bit of an advantage back. And there's the engineer capturing, but he can see that because the hospital belongs to him, so he's opened fire. And now tanks aren't very good against infantry, but engineers are very weak. Now I need to keep the APC away from that light tank, but he's lost it. Now I've got the advantage, and with me killing that small group here first, it's just I've won the centre. And what's this guy doing? Is it a rally position for that? Yeah, he obviously ordered his light tank into a rally position. Oh, come on. Oh, look, I've got the engineer as well. Don't leave him at an oil derrick. Use shift command to move him away. And plus, he's forgotten about this one, or he didn't realise there's one here. Let's see. He's actually got he's guarded. He's guarded them, so obviously you don't send lone engineers to capture things. But I've trained a second engineer, look, and I'm waiting with the APC. Hopefully he can't see my units. No, he can't, look. You see he's got vision range here, and I've got an army there. And he doesn't even know it, you know? That's why you have to send your scouts out and stuff. But I've got my engineer and I'm going over here. So the enemy will see this. That's their first warning that he'll realise I'm going to capture that because he'll know I've got an engineer inside. So has he no vehicles for a reaction, so he can't do anything about it. So, and I'm not letting him see the units that are defending it. You see he's sending these. I've got these guys waiting. So you'll see there, I've captured it. And there you go, look, his units sent to kill the engineer are being stopped on the way. Because that's what you can see. Look, like I say, I could have a big army here. I could have one here. You just don't know. Your enemies sneak around the sides of the map. You know, even if this belongs to him, I could sneak past here with a group of tanks. It's a difficult game, and if you're against a skilled opponent, it's hard. It's a good game. This a very difficult, challenging game, and the skill level is quite high at the moment. That's what I've found overall compared to all the years I've been playing this. I think the skill level is probably higher than it's ever been. There's not as many players as there's ever been, but they are good. There's a lot of good players, and there are new players and some players that aren't as skilled. There's always someone better. But, you know, there's a good mix of players of skill levels. But I think, like I say, overall, the skill level is higher now than I've ever known it. Or as high as ever. You know, there's a lot of good players. And I've got my second expansion because I don't normally, you see, I've set my expansion MCV. I set him up here. Oh, look, I'm scouting, checking out what's going on. So we best go to army value. Yeah, I'm at 17,000. My opponent's at 8,000. And I set up my first expansion here, and I don't normally do that. So look, I'm taking a big risk because I've got an engineer here, but I've moved my APC away so I didn't lose it. and I need my tanks in a screening position, and my APC's just being sent in. Now, this MCV's backing up my troops, but I'm fighting through his view range against base defences and infantry, so I'm just lucky he didn't have enough mass. But I placed that, and I've got to leg it again straight away. But I've got a barracks here. I can use that to rally against this force, and I didn't know how much was there. That's what my opponent can see, and this is what I can see, so I didn't know if he had more forces coming. Look, that's why I split my army, but now I can build base defences and more infantry on site. So I've got that engineer here safe. I'm thinking about capturing that. And my opponent's called it. I've smashed through his defences, he knows. And there you go, there's the third one for you. So there's a couple of games that I fought tonight, and yeah, look, my opponent was doing okay at the start. It was just after the first few minutes, oh yeah, that loss in the middle, and it put him, and see, the thing is, he's actually increased his army value at the same rate, not at first, but then after a while, at the same rate I did. So he did well there, but it's just he's starting from zero pretty much, because I smashed that force in the middle here. And once I'd done that, he was at a disadvantage, so that's a shame, actually, for him. It may have been a more substantial fight if I hadn't have won that engagement in the middle, because it probably killed all his infantry mass. He's, like I say, starting from zero. As the earnings, yeah, he recovered nicely and was doing okay. No, my army isn't that much. You see, that could easily have turned against me if he had a basic force, because of the way I attacked him and I ran straight into his base and base defences. You know, that was quite reckless of me, actually. He could have wiped me out from that. But I've got a 15,000 army value, yeah. I lost a structure, my opponent lost 5. I killed 88 units, my opponent killed 69, and I destroyed 22,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets, and my opponent destroyed 11,000 credits worth of my assets. No support powers in effect. Too soon for the second war factory or the radar dome. And I am producing the second war factory now. We're at just past 8 minutes and I'm building the second war factory. But this map, I do set up differently to usual, and I send, like I say, I'm distributing my infantry differently, and the way I set up my structures at the start is different, because I need build reach to go over here to start mining the gems here. So my third refinery mines the gems, which means you need to use your war factory for build reach, rather than to help you mine the main ore patch, because your war factory, you start mine these gems out straight away, and then as this gem patch is mined, send the ore trucks to mine this main patch, because that'll go quickly. Because when you place your third refinery there to mine this patch, you get 2 ore trucks that help it, and you quickly mine the gems for a nice boost in income. And then this would be the normal place to expand to on the right. In this case, because I've deployed at the bottom, spawned at the bottom, the right place will be at the bottom here to expand. But normally I expand here and place a refinery there and a refinery there, and I actually save that for the mid game, to be fair, and it allows me to have a strong position forward and attack the enemy at what you should have as your first expansion, which most players do. So setting up here allows me to attack that from a decent position there, and then I'll soon move over to here with my home base MCV and use base production to protect my starting base, home base, and then I've got build production on either side, and I'll probably take one of my MCVs with me to attack, like over here. So I did do this differently to usual, but I haven't played on this map for a little while, so that's why. I won't go on too much, because there's been 3 replays anyway. I got 7 ore trucks, couple of oil derricks. I earned 51 grand, my opponent earned 39 grand, so he did okay for cash. I've got over 6 grand, he's got over 3 grand. Yeah, so we did fine for that. I was at 25 actions per minute, my opponent was at 16. There you go, there's all the basics, graphs and charts for the third game. I hope you enjoyed those games anyway. If you did enjoy what you saw, give us a sub and a like, and take good care of yourselves, and until next time, goodbye.
Battle control terminated.